Hi, my name is Drian, and this is my channel where I get to discuss my experiences as a polyamorous person. This video I wanted to discuss things that were either more or less significant as I went from a monogamous long-term live-in relationship to dating people and looking for polyamorous relationships. I wanted to start by saying that this is my personal experience. It's influenced by who I am, my personality traits, the people that I was having relationships with, and my situation, where I came from, all of that. I share it because I know as I went through the transition, some of the things I anticipated being a big deal because we discussed them so heavily in the polyamorous community, and I felt abnormal because I wasn't, either it affected me more or less than I was hearing a lot of other people saying. So I hope that if you're in that category, you see this as a little bit normalizing. There are other people who are like you. And if you're someone who has a more typical response, then that's also perfectly good. I think it's important to be self-reflective and also trust yourself. If it's not a big deal, it's not because you're doing it wrong, it's just not a big deal to you and the people that you're interacting with, and that's healthy and who you are. So that being said, the first thing I want to talk about is jealousy. Jealousy takes a really center stage position within the polyamorous community, and I hear people talking a lot about monogamous people, confronting them and asking them how they deal with jealousy. I haven't had either the experience of being confronted by my peers or anyone else about how I deal with jealousy. I also didn't experience a lot of jealousy during the transition between monogamy and polyamory, and since then there hasn't been a lot of jealousy I've had to deal with. I don't think that I will never have to deal with jealousy. At some point there will be jealousy and I will have to deal with it, and I do read about and try to work through how I would confront that and deal with it in a healthy, constructive way with my partner. I opened up from a couple, so we had been together for 2 years. We lived together. We talked a lot about opening up our relationship beforehand. We even discussed how we would feel if there was an emotional attachment as well as sexual attachment with a new partner, but neither of us are very possessive people, and we aren't highly susceptible to sexual or romantic jealousy. That doesn't mean we can't feel those emotions, it's just saying that we don't feel them easily. And the partners that I've had long-term relationships with haven't been jealous people, and I'm really grateful for that. I think it's been a great boon for all of us. The second thing was coming out to my peers. On several occasions got a little bit nervous, a little anxious about coming out to specific people, and I always seemed to be greeted by complete acceptance and support, and it didn't seem to affect our relationship at all. It was just another thing. I told them, they said, "Oh, okay, that's what you're doing, that makes you happy, cool." And a lot of them also knew people who had been either non-monogamous in general or polyamorous in particular, and had either worked or not worked for them, but there wasn't a lot of drama. I will add as a side note to this that the one really difficult coming out experience I had was with my parents, specifically my mother, and I anticipated that, and it was very difficult. We're still processing that, both of us, and so I'm not going to share that experience until I feel like I can do that in a really honest and fair way. So the flip side of these two things are things that I didn't really anticipate being a big deal and then turned out to be really important. The first is a really positive one. It's compersion. Compersion is the happy feeling you get when you see your partner enjoying another partner or hear about them, when they share that bubbly feeling they get having experienced something wonderful with someone else. And it's sometimes couched as the opposite of jealousy. This was really important during the transition because I am a very shy and awkward person, and my original partner can be that way as well. Neither of us are really skilled at dating, so we would be able to not only support each other when we were feeling like anxious and like not so great, but then also on the flip side, when we had a really good experience, then we could share that when we got home, and it would feed into our relationship because the other person was so excited for us and so supportive and just, you know, happy for our happiness. And I think it's a really great thing about polyamory that you don't really get to experience in monogamous relationships because your partners don't have other partners, but it definitely was integral in having the transition go really smoothly for me and be I was very emotionally secure during that whole transition because jealousy wasn't a big deal, but compersion really was, so that was great. The last thing I wanted to talk about that was more difficult than I thought it was going to be is metamor interactions. So as I mentioned previously, I opened from a couple. We lived together. It was long term. Neither of us are very socially, we don't have the social graces of some of our peers. So the most difficult metamor interactions for me was the first time he would bring a new relationship home and I would be there. What was really difficult for me was not acting like a total boob, which I did repeatedly with he would bring someone he had been dating for a little while home, and I would be so worried that they would think I wasn't okay with them, that I would appear territorial, that I would make them feel really uncomfortable or unwelcome, that I kind of turned in on myself and tried to make myself as small as possible. We weren't dating polyamorous people, so we were dating people who knew about our situation but weren't maybe able to guide us through protocol or give us models on how to be a gracious hostess when your live-in boyfriend brings their other new relationship home. Since then, I have dated, some of my metamors have been polyamorous and knew what was going on, and I've definitely gotten more secure in myself and better at being gracious and being graceful in those situations, but it definitely was a learning experience, definitely a learning curve on that one. That's it for this video, and I hope you tune in next time.